virtually real life. It's like we are getting the knockoff, cheap version of life, rebranded, repackaged and repurposed to be what we have currently, soon to be even crappier, they say. A possible reason for this I covered in my article, Life, but so many people have noticed it, and a feeling of being unsatisfied is naturally going with it. And for those who can't take it anymore, or they just deem too much hassle, we now have assisted suicide, just to add to the more than sinister we have going on. But that isn't really just it. There is an overall plan to help people self-destruct, it seems, and if they don't get there quick enough, they have ways to encourage you or steer you there. And if this simulation in a simulation in a simulation becomes too much after all, you can hook yourself into another virtual world, which can blow your brains out if you don't win or survive in the game. And I'm sure it will be live streamed and watchable to whoever gets their kicks from that kind of thing. Next level gaming and entertainment, eh? Suddenly the Running Man springs to mind, or Hunger Games, and other setups of that nature. But we know there are better ways, a better life and way of living to be had. Vast landscapes we are restricted from, resources are hidden and taken from us, and restricted. All sorts of mechanisms by which we could make our lives better have been commandeered and taken over. Our lives have been usurped, from under our very noses, because trauma and despair, in overwhelming doses, makes people worn down, and more accepting it would seem. People of the past, as far as we know, didn't have access to information from the next town as it occurred, let alone the whole world all the time, at the same time. But they did have dramatic incidents from which they obviously recovered, otherwise we wouldn't have made it this far. The oversaturation of news and doom-mongering, though, by way of constant electronic device, is making life seem more fraught with danger and darkness than it should be. And not by accident. Certain events abroad are often used to fuel and flame a social feeling they wish to create, which then paves the way nicely for more guidelines, regulations and rules. You have to do this because someone over there is doing that. Seems to be the way they are playing it. While ignoring problems right in front of your face. Ignoring the real to focus on the maybe. Seems complete madness to me and is driving things into the ground. Separate the real issues and problems from the perceived ones, and understand when someone is taking advantage of a situation or timing for their own gratification or gain, because there are many opportunists out there, and they come with all sorts of wants. Remember that. But that is how they get you living a virtual life, within your real one first, by drawing your focus to things that are not directly affecting your physical being, so they worm their way in mentally first, to encourage the adjustment in your physical behaviour. Plant the seeds, then watch them grow kind of thing. Imagine all the things you would have done if you hadn't been sat watching TV. Hours and months spent watching carefully crafted, scripted lives and scenarios. No wonder life seems a bit crazy and haphazard to some people, without conclusion or closure, no cliffhanger or resolution. Because that's what happens in the scripted and edited version. Real life isn't supposed to be like that. But it does seem that some people are not able to deal with real life after the expectation or ideals they have developed from societal influences. Media, school, TV, family, friends all play their part in how someone views the world and forms an understanding of things. So again, imagine if you don't like what the family and friends are saying who are real people in your life, but you do like what the television and celebrities are saying, and decide that they are more appropriate for you as role models or someone to look up to. Which is fine essentially. We can and should be able to choose our influences and input. But are they real? What if you are basing your whole reality and presence on a work of fiction, and a constantly changing one at that? Because the wheels of industry demand that we move at their pace, and if anyone doesn't keep up or change quick enough, they are cast aside and left behind. No longer part of the current thing. They were just being used to push along an idea, an agenda, to create the next fad. The first fad gives a bit more on that subject. And I'm going to mention medications here, because it seems that there are many people under the influence of those too. For this, I'm talking specifically painkillers and antidepressants and anxiety medication, covered from a certain angle in memory and an error, but a big one. It seems that there is another side to these things that isn't common knowledge as far as I know. I will brief it again. Painkillers first. Firstly, they found that some of them impair the information of short-term memories, which seems important if I'm honest. Also, it turns out that when the painkillers work to dull your pain receptors, they also dull and dampen other areas of feeling too, like emotions and empathy, leading me to think that long-term usage not only gives you an addiction, it also means you are not feeling normal things towards things in life, which may well be the point of why some people continue taking them. Once the physical pain diminishes, I understand it doesn't always in some cases, maybe the other feelings that return are a bit of a shock when you come off them, and many aren't prepared for it. Having felt and thought a different way for some time, thinking it's actually you, turns out it wasn't. Next up is the antidepressants and anxiety medication, of which there appears to be plenty of candidates signed up to a lifetime of it, some just through resignation that they will never be normal without their meds. As we know, some of those meds, unfortunately, can actually cause anxiety and depression, and suicidal thoughts, and physical side effects, and can be addictive. And again, what they don't tell you is, they also mess with your ability to process new information and to feel emotions and empathy properly, either suppressing them or enhancing them, sometimes leading to more drugs to cope with the clash of central processing info going on in your brain. I do not agree, however, with just expecting people to cope, or throwing them to the wolves of life when they have problems. I think they can be helpful and useful when applied correctly. But let's be honest, it suits a purpose to have people constantly in need of something only they can dish out. Its big business goes into that if you are unsure of a possible why. And it helps to keep people controllable, pliable, and comfortably numb, as Led Zeppelin put it, paving the way quite well for a confused society, at odds with itself and not functioning as well as it could. Not just being held down through economic pressures, systems and regulations, but through mental and medical interference. And perhaps now we know how it could ever get this far, and why haven't more people realised or reacted?